Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Alright. Why do you think people smile when someone takes a picture of them?
Not me.
You don't smile?
No, never.
Alright, thank you. Yeah, alright, not everybody smiles, but most people do, right? If someone asks you if they can take a picture of you, let's say in a wedding or a party, you will most likely smile for the camera. So I went around asking passers-by what they thought was the reason for this.
It adds a glow to their face. जब वो smile करते हैं तो उनका लगता है कि वो लोग खुले दिल के हैं.
Because people want to look better or happy when the picture is caught.
Are you sure?
No.
So smiling makes us look good is kind of the common answer almost everyone gave me. Almost everyone. आप करते smile? नहीं करते? If you look at a lot of earlier photographs, when photography just came into picture, people tended to be serious. And even if they smile, the trend was more to control the smile than to show it off. So one of the common reasons given why people didn't smile in early photographs is that it took a long time to make a photograph earlier than like a fraction of a second today. And so it was just easy for them to hold on to a serious pose. So I did my own research and found this to be slightly incorrect. So this is the first photograph ever taken, 1814. And looks like some kind of a building. It took about an entire day of exposure to get this photo done, and therefore you don't see any human being because no human being is going to sit stable for that long to get just a grainy and blurry picture. In fact, it took about 20 years from the time that this first picture was taken to the time that finally a human being was captured in a photo, and that too happened accidentally. By this time, the exposure time, instead of one full day, it had gone down to about 10-15 minutes. Still too long generally to capture a portrait. But because this guy was getting his shoe polished and he remained in the same place for most of those 10-15 minutes, we got a picture. But between 1 year from this picture, the exposure time had gone down all the way to about 1 minute, which was good enough for this guy to take that first portrait, kind of a selfie. Let me show you when a camera requires 1 minute to take a picture and the subject does not sit still, how blurry the picture might look like. Of course, you would not move so much, but you know, let's say I do this. Now I am going to be very stationary with a very serious pose for 1 whole minute, and let's see how the picture looks now. If you don't zoom in, it looks normal, but if you zoom in, you can see that how blurred it is, etc. But the question is, if you could hold a serious pose for 1 minute, can't you also do a smiling pose for 1 minute? Let's check it out. So as you can see, if you ask me to pose for 1 minute, whether or not I have to give a smile or not, the effort is kind of the same. In about 10-20 more years, you could actually take a fraction of a second pictures, and yet the smiling trend picked up only after 1900, and there is a clear-cut explanation for that. Kodak. So before 1900, photography was done mostly by professional photographers, and the reason these photographers never asked their subjects to smile, although it could be captured technically, was because the visual imagery that existed before that was mostly drawn from paintings. Paintings actually did take several hours and several days to be completed, and it was kind of impossible to keep on smiling for sessions after sessions. And so the same visual aesthetics was simply being carried out in photography. It was just in fashion to be serious for your photograph, and it remained so until Kodak changed it when it launched its $1 camera in 1900. So photography was extremely male dominated back then. Most of the terminologies like capture, shoot, aim, all of them come from hunting. You know, back then photographers were called operators, and a studio that we know now, they were called as operation rooms. So what Kodak did was they would launch photography magazines and journals and posters which would show happy faces, which show women not only just smiling for the camera but holding the camera. And all of this helped shift the whole cultural thing about seriousness of photography to playfulness of photography. And then people started smiling, and two more important things happened. One was Hollywood and number two was advertising. The movies started getting made by around 1910 Hollywood and in general across the world. And what happened is that movie theater culture started, and people started for the first time watching visuals which showed a lot of different expressions. So for the first time, new visual images of all these expressions started coming. Now talking about ads, the way ads were usually made till 1900 and 1920 and before that, was the focus was more on the negative, like this Vicks ad that you see here. And slowly during this period, it started changing on focusing on the positive, like you see here. And then soon it became just focus only on the positive. And that kind of approach is carried forward even today, as you see in all these different ads. In fact, this is how a Coke ad looked like back then. Can you ever imagine a non-smiling face on a Coke ad? Now anyway, so the way this impacted photography was that a lot of photographers realized that if they start capturing happy faces, it's easy to sell them to the ad industry. And that's how the whole shift to actually focusing on smiling faces went, because of the ad industry. And I could have said the same thing simply in the way I was vlogging earlier, but you know, sometimes when you put on a coat and put on this fancy studio light, people take you seriously. And last but not the least, who came up with this idea of say cheese? The first mention of this approach to make people smile can be found in 1943, this newspaper called the Big Spring Daily Herald. So the next time someone asks you to say cheese for the camera and therefore smile, remember that they're not saying it because they think you look better and beautiful and your soul comes out or anything like that. They're saying it because of Kodak's marketing campaign, Hollywood and advertising. Did you know that on YouTube, when you subscribe to our channel and don't press on the bell icon, YouTube does not always notify you when a new video gets uploaded? Just letting you know for your kind information. Hi, I'm Amrit. I make a lot of videos. I vlog about my life. I make short documentary films, 3-minute stories. Companies, non-profits, startups, schools, universities, they hire me to tell their stories or the stories of those they impact so that they can sell more, raise funds, attract people to work for them. And then there's the second type of stories where I go find amazing individuals doing amazing things, and they don't hire me as such, but I tell their stories because their stories deserve to be told. In fact, you can help me fund those stories at patreon.com/whatsapp. I come from an IIT business consulting background, but after a few years of corporate job, took a break to become a wedding photographer. I still shoot at weddings across India. There is something beautiful about creating art from weddings. There is something beautiful about creating art from anything.